Are you an accounting or tax professional who wants to stay ahead without spending a dime? Join thousands who trust insightful accountant and tax practice news to keep them informed and empowered. Get expert updates on QuickBooks, Xero, tax planning strategies, and workflow tips delivered straight to your inbox. Whether you're a solo bookkeeper, firm leader, or tax advisor, these newsletters are your shortcut to what's next in the profession. They're free, practical, and built for people like you. Visit insightfulaccountant.com and hit subscribe to start your smarter workflow today for free.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Accounting Insiders Podcast. My name is Gary DeHart. My guest today is Joe Carufe. I said it right?
Got it. Yeah.
There we go. Woohoo! Joe Carufe. And Joe wears a couple of different hats. He is a firm founder, is the right way to put it, right? And then also works with Karbon. So we're going to dive into a conversation about both what it's like wearing those two very different hats. Again, they do cross, obviously, but very different. And I imagine having one foot in a firm increases your value of having a foot in Karbon and vice versa, because you can really see what's going on and put it to practical use. But rather than me just start talking, give us a thanks for being here, and then just give us like the 1 minute kind of background on you and how you ended up. It could be two if you want. How you ended up doing what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, great to be on the podcast with you, Gary. I know we go back a long time. We've seen each other on LinkedIn and otherwise, and newly found fly fisherman friends as well.
Here we go.
Great to be here. Yeah, so I've been in traditional CAS for, gosh, 14 and a half years at this point. I got my degree in finance and accounting, got really involved in one of the first cloud-based bookkeeping firms there was back in 2011, and learned a ton, cut my teeth, got involved in the Intuit crowd pretty early on and have loved it ever since. So about 4.5 years ago, a CPA friend of mine and I started this company, Good Measure. It's a cloud-based bookkeeping firm, very into technology, but with a very high relational bent. We thought that was important um, to sort of ride both waves, really dig deep with AI, good technology, cloud-based technology, and we think the winning combination is high relationships. So our whole team of 11, we focus on high EQ individuals, folks that are really empathetic to the plight of the business owner or the nonprofit leader, and we use technology to implement that in their firm. We've really seen that as the winning combo. We're continuing to lean into AI and growth on that side. And I've also been a Karbon user for 10 years at this point, so have gotten to
Wow.
see the journey pretty much since
You're like
day
user
one.
number two or something.
Yeah, we were early. Absolutely, like fell in love with the leadership team there, the early team. Just they got accountants, they understood accounting. I was honored with an invitation to join the team at the same time we started Good Measure, so jumped in with both feet in two places, and I don't have 4 feet. So it was very
Right.
busy, but it's been an awesome journey to take our learnings from the firm and bring those learnings to Karbon, as well as learn from thousands of other accountants that are Karbon users. So it's been really fun to be fully invested in the accounting world. It just stepped with two very different hats and two different perspectives.
Right. Yeah, we're going to dive into that a little bit more. So you were CAS before CAS was cool,
Yeah, I think
right? Yeah,
CAD's the definition did not exist. It was, yeah,
right.
just bookkeeping.
It's funny. I was at actually was at the Zero Roadshow in Atlanta last week, and Joe Woodard did a session on CAS, and he really I thought it was great, and I wrote about it. But he defined it, which I didn't know that AICPA had actually put a definition for what CAS is. Like this is now it's client advisory services according to AICPA. So all the other
There we go.
things you've heard are no longer valid. It is client advisory
This is,
services per the AICPA.
there we go.
So it's their gold stamp of approval,
That's right. Yeah.
which makes sense to me. So let's talk about that a little bit. You said you have 11 people
hmm
total on the accounting side. And are you single office? Are you remote? Is everybody working from home? What does that look like?
Yeah, great question. So our headquarters are Knoxville, Tennessee. My business partner Ben runs the firm as president. So we We have a little office in Knoxville. We have a few folks that come in and out, but for the most part, pretty hybrid. I go to the office 2 or 3 times a week, but then the rest of the staff works from home. So I think we have about 5 individuals in Knoxville proper, and then team members spread across the US, and even a few team members of ours are in different countries. We don't consider them as offshore labor. They are fully on our team and act and represent our company as an employee. So any U.S. employee is free to live and work in a beautiful country if they want to, or they
Right.
can move to the U.S. We're very fluid in where people get their work done.
Well, I'm gonna have to go on record. I think the U.S. is also a beautiful country, but
Depends on the time of year. Tennessee is not so beautiful in the dead of summer. Probably similar
yeah,
like in the area.
yes, right. Depends on time of year and where you are. I'm not sure that like 29 Palms is probably not, a beautiful place in the country, but um, so your experience in building out a CAS firm, um, what does that mean to you? Like what does
Mm.
CAS mean to you and to your firm?
Yeah, that is the definition that has eluded us for the last decade. This whole term advisory. What does advisory mean? I think at the basic level of CAS that I think of practically is the day-to-day operations of a business or a nonprofit. So you have tax, which is pretty transactional when you think of a tax return. I think you could lump in tax strategy can either go advisory or either go transactional. It could just be a once a year tax strategy session. I would consider that tax. When I think of
Mhm.
advisory, I think you're doing payroll, you're doing bill pay, you're doing weekly reconciliation, monthly reconciliation, cash flow forecasting. The business owner is using your deliverable to run their business better or run their nonprofit better. So I think of it as you're part of the day-to-day team of that organization. And that's my definition of CAS is you're a critical team member in the day-to-day ops and not just for projects and not just for year end.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And do you want them to have you on speed dial, old term speed dial?
Yes and no. What we tell our clients is we are available to you 9 to 5 throughout the week. Now, in our particular model, we consider ourselves as a member of the team, but it's not just one person. It's not just one of the owners or one of the bookkeepers or one of the, senior staff members. It's a whole team. And so we are available throughout the day. Email is our preferred method of communication. Texting is great for the business owner. It's not great for our team because a team member of ours is going to be working on a few different clients in the given day.
Right.
We want to avoid switch tasking. So try not to text us. That's really just going to pull them away from another project. And for the most part, in accounting, nothing is on fire. Like nothing in our world is truly urgent, maybe other than payroll. So we like to say, email us as much as you want, and we'll filter it. We'll put it in a batch process so that we can do your work along with multiple other clients' work. And because we can do that, you're not paying $100,000 a year for our team. You're paying 24 to $36,000 a year for our team.
And and so what does that look like? I don't know if we don't want to get into a pricing discussion, but high level about pricing. Is that based what is your firm? And again, not looking for any secrets or anything like
Sure.
that, but when you do a discovery call with the client, how do you end up at, hey, here's what it's going to cost you?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, generally, what we want to do is make sure we're a good fit for what they need. Generally, we're working for businesses, nonprofits between $1 and $5 million a year in annual revenue. There's a lot
Okay.
that goes into that. You can have a very simple $5 million company, you can have a very complex $1 million company. But we generally say is you have outgrown that of maybe your spouse doing the books, or you've outgrown your administrative person doing the books, but you're not yet at the size you need a full-time CFO or accountant. There may only be 10 true hours a week of accounting. We fit in really well to fit those 10 hours, 20 hours a week because it's cost efficient for them. They're getting the biggest bang for their buck of our team's brain. where, the admin might not have the capability to do it really well. Now there's more on the line, and you don't want to have a CFO type person doing 30 hours of non-accounting work and only 10 hours of accounting work. They'll eventually burn out or get bored and you're overpaying. So we fit in really nicely. We like to say we're about the third of a cost of an FTE. So if you think of, I really want $120,000 controller, great, no problem. You only need like a third of that anyway, so we'll just fill
Right.
that third.
Okay. So now we're going to bounce over this. This is a good transition to your other hat, and that's carbon.
Mhm.
You mentioned the not the difficulty, but you mentioned kind of training your clients, right? You're not going to don't text me, don't do it. You don't need to text me. It's going to get lost in the ether. Hundreds of reasons I don't want you texting me. Um, but how do we or firms prevent kind of the information overload inbound? And I think some of that answer is going to be tools like Carbon, but um, walk us through that. And again, with our listeners and our audience, it may be somebody who is a bookkeeping firm or up to a top 100 firm, listening and engaging with our content. Wide range, but we skew, like most accounting firms, to the smaller end of that spectrum. So if
Mhm.
you're a smaller firm, how do you prevent being overwhelmed by your clients and the amount of information your clients are throwing at you? What does that look like?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So in my role at Carbon, I have met with literally hundreds of accounting firm owners the last 5 years. And the common theme, one, when we ask firms is, what what's the biggest milestone moment in your firm? What's the pinnacle of success for you? And the overwhelming majority is an exit is on their mind at some point. We know the demographics of accountants right now is three-quarters of accountants are reaching retirement age in the next 5 years. So exiting is out there, and yet many of them have not planned. And so what I run across firms, the common theme or the common thing I like to share is like you should build your accounting firm to sell whether or not you want to sell. So
Mm.
and it's not just accounting, like you want to build your practice to not need you. And a tool like Carbon puts you in that operational rigor to say, it doesn't matter if I'm just myself or two staff. I want to build the process that A, I could scale this myself to 20 team members and that operational foundation is there. Or I may want to exit and let the firm run itself. You're gonna have to have good procedures. And certainly when you sell, you're more attractive to a buyer if you have a job that you yourself like. Nobody is going to pay you to take your 70-hour a week job. So
Yeah,
put in the rigor now is what we say. And that's hard because I think good accountants are really invested in the success of their clients. And so they're going to want to give out your cell phone number. I'm going to want to go on site and have a coffee with you. I'm going to want to roll up my sleeves and get in the trenches with you. And all that is well and good, and you can apply technology to still do that well. But if you get so entrenched that you can't run your business, you're going to get caught flat-footed at one point. So, with a tool like Carbon, it helps you train your clients like, hey, I know we're not going to have texting, but we have a tool so zero emails get lost. We will reply to you same day. Our system has reporting to ensure my team responds to you same day. Nothing gets lost. Like you can trust that system. And let me tell you, if you text me, chances are it'll get lost. I have
yeah,
1,000 other texts going on in a family text chain that pings every 30 seconds. It's just not a safe place to be putting that sort of information anyway.
yeah. And how do you train the client? I mean, have you gotten to a point to where you just do you just reply back to them and say, send me an email? Or because I mean, it seems to me on the front end as a client, if our accountant said, hey, don't text me, I'm not going to text you. And the best way to prevent that is just don't give me your cell phone number. Um, and then I won't be able to text you, and I'm going to communicate, or I should communicate with you the way that you're asking me to communicate with you, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yep, that's right. I'll say in a lot of ways, money does talk. So we have had clients that have said, like, I gotta text you, I'm on the road, I'm a contractor, I don't do email. And we'll say, no problem. For that level of service, it's
Yeah.
another $2,000 a month. And all of a sudden they say, hey, I could email, I could figure out how to open Gmail
Yeah.
on my phone.
Okay.
That's the
Yeah.
next thing.
Yeah. Because oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because look. Oh wow. My phone has email. What?
That's right.
What are the
That's
chances?
right. Yeah.
Right. So
And we do it, we want to be kind. We want to fit them where they are. There are certain businesses that just can't do email, or business owner just isn't in that mindset. And that is a decision to make. Yes or no, will we take that client? Because that is extremely disruptive to a team. If you can imagine a team member is, in the books for an architect, and they're zoned in, they're looking at the books, and they get a text from a restaurant owner. I need this. That 15 minutes of switch tasking, they got to go over here, log out of QuickBooks, log into the restaurant, do something. I mean, all of a sudden you've burned an hour responding to a text, and that's not fair to the team member, the architect, or even the restaurant. And so, um, it just and we explain that to our clients, like, hey, if we were to do that, basically we have to raise prices for everybody. And what we want to try to do is keep the price as low as humanly possible while our team's still profiting. If we're not making a profit, we're not in business, and you're not getting our service. And generally, I mean, doing this for 15 years, like, people are they're pretty open to that conversation.
I think so. But again, I'm only I'm survey of one here, and I don't believe we're not demanding of our accountant, and respectful of their time, and do what I can to work within their bounds. Although I will have to say, um, where I'm not good at is document sharing. I have not fit their mold
Yeah.
well, but they also have not pressed me on it. And so I'm saying I'm going to touch on that as from a client's perspective, but also put it back on the accountant and have the accountant, my accountant should say, why are you sending me a document email?
Yep.
I told you, put it in. I think they use TaxStone. I told you, put it in TaxStone. Okay. But guess what I would do? I'd put it in TaxStone.
Yep.
I'd probably have to say what's the link for that, um, but I think it's on the firm to ensure that the client is doing, meeting their obligation, and that obligation is to provide information in the way that the firm has, or the way we've agreed to share
Yep.
information. And that's
Yeah.
better for both of us, like you said a
Absolutely.
minute ago.
Absolutely. And I do think that's where accountants should lean in, is thoughtful technology to meet clients where they are. There has been tax portals for probably 20 years. Every client hates a portal. They forget their logins. Like, it's not an elegant experience. That was one thing Karbon in particular spent a lot of time thinking through, is how do we make the secure login easier on the client's behalf. So Karbon uses a magic link, which is basically an automated email goes out from Karbon. Just click the link, upload your documents. Until you've completed all the documents, you can set a reminder to ping that client every day or every 5 days, like, hey, gentle reminder, click the link, upload the documents. If you just have a client who's not tech savvy, a client can still just straight up reply to the email with their docs, and those still flow into the portal. So trying to just cast a wide net. And that's not just Karbon. At our firm, we use tools like Ramp, Bill.com, Keeper. I mean, we're all over the place. Not all over the place. We're intentional around the tools we use just to make it easy for the client. Like, these are best in breed. We've done a discovery. We think, the magic sauce for you is a better point of sale, Ramp for your credit card spending, and we're going to use Karbon to automatically remind you to get any other documents to us. And we just try to ease that burden of document collection.
So what does that look like? Again, trying to keep it on the small firm side perspective. So I finally come to the conclusion, I've listened to this podcast and decided, yep, it's time for me to get my tech stack in order. Um, you've been on, again, both sides of the fence, or you still are, both sides of this equation. What does that process look like? Because to me, I know all the stuff that we use in our business, all the software and the software fatigue and paying for software, the fatigue of paying for software that that I have. What does that look like on a firm side? I mean, how do I finally A, bite the bullet,
Hmm.
B, decide what going to bring in and see, pay for it and train on it, get my staff to use it.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. And I think especially now there are so many new players to the space, it can be just overwhelming. And now we're getting into the age of AI and vibe coding, and we'll see even more very niche apps coming out, and it's analysis paralysis. Which one do I choose? And even just being on this podcast and spending time with you, there are players who have been around the space for a while. Insightful Accounting has been around for a while. It's a trusted voice. There are other people, the Accountant podcast with David and Blake. Those are two people I ascribe to, Scotty Scarano, just folks that have been around for a decade, sort of know what to look for. I ascribe to lots and lots of different influencers, Ryan Lazanis, Jason Stats. This is not paid promotion. This is just actual people I follow.
Yes. Yeah, there's
Um,
like if you're in this space and you haven't heard of them, well, you got to get more engaged.
Yeah, I would say Carbon's magazine too. Obviously biased. I work there and I like the product. We have done at Carbon a very good job curating who we think are the best in breed apps and have connected to them. And so even at our firm, we look at the partnerships team and say, oh, they've integrated to Ignition and Ramp and Gusto. Well, we kind of trust Carbon's thought process that we at least know baseline out of the thousands and thousands of apps out there, these 20 have already been vetted by people smarter than us. Let's at least start there in our own personal vetting. And then bringing it down to the company, we like to get our team buy-in on new apps. So we'll carve out paid time for them to do their own research. Hey, which clients could we deploy this on? This looks really cool and sexy that this influencer put out. Could we actually use it? And I think that's an important piece that some firms go on the I'm going to stick my head in the sand and just not change anything. I'm going to stay on CCH the rest of my life and just ride it out. And some just buy stuff off the shelf without really thinking and they just burn a lot of time. And I think the sweet spot is intentionally finding which ones are best in breed, intentional vetting internally with the team, and then once you're ready to implement, is go all in. I mean, really put it through the rigor. Don't just dip your toe in the water. Give it its best shot. We generally will pay for implementations from softwares, not even just Carbon, but any that we implement. Like, who can we pay to do this right, so we get the max value out of it? Is what we generally recommend.
Yeah. And then do you typically have an evangelist on staff? All right. So we're bringing in Bill.com. You're going to be the Bill.com person. You're going to learn everything there is to know about Bill.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Always at least one main champion that's you get the certification, you build a relationship with the account rep, you're the sort of answer person for the rest of the team. And then rest of the team, like we want everyone to get certified on everything, but we still have like our lighthouse person that like they're sort of the expert on it.
Needs to be somebody that understands it
Hmm.
and is the go-to person. So I think that's a good insight. Two things you mentioned. So you mentioned Gusto. Did you hear that they're in negotiations with to purchase Guideline?
I saw that. Yeah. Yeah.
Saw that this
Gusto is one of
morning. Like,
those sweetheart companies. I was blessed with the opportunity to be on their Gusto Partner Advisory Council the last 2 years.
okay.
Wonderful experience, wonderful team there as well. So really excited to see that happening. And I think the accounting industry is just getting so much attention. Ramp just raised $500 million a few weeks ago. Like this is just like an absurd amount of money is coming to
Right.
the industry right now. It's really exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. Joshua Reeves, I think, was the first person that I interviewed when we started what was
Really?
Intuitive Accountant, but
Yeah.
yeah, a long time ago. At I think it was at SleaterCon, so that tells you how long ago that was.
Okay.
Um,
How
and
about
then the
that?
other one you mentioned, and it's funny because I have not heard his name, have not seen him, have not just just hasn't popped up anywhere in any of my feeds, and that's Scott Scarano, and he popped up today on I don't know if it's LinkedIn or Facebook, I don't know where it was, but
Okay.
so it's funny you mentioned him.
How
So
about that?
yeah, so all right, so we've talked about CAS, we've talked about leveraging the technology, but I do want to dive a little deeper again on on how you go through that implementation process, not step by step, but um, when actually before that, when you go in and sit with a firm as Karbon, what are the challenges that you're seeing all firms have, all air quotes, all firms, that tool like Karbon solves?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll say the challenge is less on Carbon the app and more the firm's mindset. Um, Again, accounting has been around for a very long time,
Right.
and Carbon is a process-oriented tool. We do a survey every 2 years to our customer base. How many hours per employee per week has Carbon saved you? The results are mind-blowing and frankly a little unbelievable. The last survey was 16 hours per employee per week, which is like that's like half the week.
Yeah.
The latest survey was 18 and a half hours per employee per week, which is that's a lot of time and money. And the reason that is because the firm has to go through a mindset shift of how they do what they do. So in implementation, so when I joined Carbon on the Series A fund about 5 years ago, I was tasked with, hey, we need to build an implementation team to support all the new growth. So I was able to build offices in multiple different countries, dozens of team members. And the common theme across every kickoff call was great. Carbon's a process company. Where are your current processes? How do you do your 1040? How do you do your month end close? And the common theme was, well, we don't know. It's like it's all up here.
Right.
So there was nothing to translate into Carbon. And so we've had to shift from just order takers of like, oh, we'll take your existing Excel process and put it into Carbon to, oh, let's think through, let's give you best practices of how to do a 1040 and build that with you. And that takes time, it takes work. And if a CPA firm's already working 60 hours a week, that can be a challenge to fit that time in. The ones that, again, go through the rigor and go through the implementation properly, they're building their team into this new process of, oh, it's not just Janice's way of doing a tax return. It's not just John's way of doing review. We've thoughtfully crafted this is the firm's way of doing a 1065, for example. And so um, that's the challenge is building the actual backbone of the firm onto Carbon. And we've gotten a lot better with templates and providing best practices too to help speed that up.
So how often are those discovery calls like what you just described, where they say, uh, we don't really have a process,
Uh, the majority.
really?
I mean, it depends on the size of the firm, but you'd be surprised. I've met with 50-person firms that have no process. There's a lot of, and these are great firms, very happy staff, long tenured staff, loyal clients. They're using paper routing sheets for their tax returns. They have wall to wall filing cabinets. They're pulling files and pulling routing sheets and writing on tax returns still. These are 80-year-old firms. That
Wow.
that process 50 years ago was wonderful. It still works today, but it's 18 and a half more hours a week to do it that way than to do it in the cloud.
Right. And so is the pushback that you receive, is it money? Is it time? Or is it just, it's going to be so much work, I just can't even wrap my head around it?
Yeah, it's hardly the money at this point. I mean, accounting practices, we're professionals. Um, and we understand return on investment. Carbon, in my mind, is a nominal fee. It's the time commitment. I think that's the greatest hurdle is it isn't the $99 per user fee. That's kind of not much when you consider the average rate of an accountant is pushing. I mean, every year in a good way, it's going up and up, salaries for
Yeah.
accountants. So adding $99 a month to that is not much at all. It's the time and the thought to rethink this. Those are all billable hours going into that implementation. The implementation of the tech is not as hard as the rethinking of how do I do my business to fit in this new age world. And that can be daunting. I think for younger CPAs, they get that. This is not carbon hat, Joe. This is just how I think of the industry. younger progressive, they're thinking, well, I've got 20 years left in my career. 2025 or the fall of 2025, yeah, it's gonna be a lot to implement that, to change the way we think about our firm. If I'm 65, I'm thinking I only have a couple tax seasons left. Let me just get through and get to the
Ride it out.
beach. I might not want to do that right now. And so that is the overcoming thing is like, what is the future? I would argue going through that rigor before an exit is going to be worth it on the valuation. Going through that before you exit, you can pass down a more stable firm to your kids or to your leaders that you're going to pass the firm down to. And so,
Yeah.
but it still can be daunting.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because like, I don't know, 10 years ago, right? The whole push was, oh, you got to, if if you want to sell your firm ever, you got to move to the cloud. If you're on legacy desktop, nobody's going to buy you.
Hmm.
And now, but kind of what you just said was, you know what, if you really want to sell your firm and get full valuation, you got to have processes. It can, and now the cloud is almost assumed, but you've got to have processes. And the process is really where your value is. I mean, there's obviously value in the book of business, but if I'm, a PE firm or another firm or whatever, and I come in and look at your business and there's no structure, then what am I really buying? A list? I mean,
Yeah, that's
so
right.
all right. So let's wrap up with just a couple of things. Again, we've talked about it multiple times. You wear multiple hats, and but what is your actual? Sorry, talking about texting. What is your actual title or role with Carbon? I don't think we ever said that.
Uh, yeah. So jack of all trades, master of none is probably
Right.
what I think of myself. Title
What are
wise,
your
I'm an executive
processes?
executive advisor. So I'm on the executive team. Whenever we have very complex implementations, I'll work with the team to sort of craft out the journey that they'll take. Because some of these larger firms, especially PE firms, it's not a typical implementation. We're really thinking through some things. At our CEO's dinner table, she came up with this idea of, we know the industry for older practitioners is bleak. We have seen even our own customers literally just go out of business and create orphan clients, orphan team members. It's terrible. And we also know there's a lot of buyers that would want to meet with those folks. I mean, they'll do a fire sale. And so we created my sort of baby built in the garage, which is now more stable now, is the carbon practice marketplace where firms can list themselves for sales, other carbon firms can buy them. And that was sort of meet those firms where they were. It's been around almost a year. We've sort of ironed out the kinks, and now in the next couple months, we're going to be really pushing thought leadership and content to help show smaller firms, less progressive firms, that there is a way to exit. Either just exit now, wave the right flag, and see if you can get something, or go through some change management, increase your value, increase the number of dates that you get. And so that's a project that I'm working on right now. But day to day in Carbon is different every day. It works really well with my weird ADHD entrepreneurial brain. I get to just kind of help out wherever there's a need on the Carbon side, which is
Okay.
it's so much fun.
All right. And so that's what you do in Carbon. So what do you do in your firm?
So yeah, at the firm, strategy and sales is sort of where I found myself. My business partner does an awesome job leading the firm operationally, leading the team. So I'm out beating the streets in the Knoxville market on the sales side, and then really digging in on the tech side too, sort of trying to understand where is the firm going to go. Ben and I are really invested in AI. We know in the next 2 to 3 years AI is just it's AI is the new cloud for accounting, and we want to be in the bleeding edge of that. So testing things, trying things, building AI bots, all of that. So getting clients in the door, Ben helps them stay in the door, and then both of us are trying to craft what the future is right now.
Okay. And he's in Knoxville.
He's
Ben,
in Knoxville as well. Yep.
what's his last name?
Curtis.
Don't know if we've ever met or not, but probably crossed paths somewhere.
He's a true CPA, and he rubs that in. I say I'm a certified pro advisor with QuickBooks, so I'm technically a CPA too, but I'm not actually a CPA.
There you go. Yeah, now you're going to get a phone call from an AICPA now.
That's right.
I mean, like, you cannot use that term.
That's right.
It's trademarked, registered, copyrighted, or lawyers will be calling. So in conclusion, so it seems that kind of where the profession is right now, whether you're a small firm, whether you're a large firm, um, process documentation. Well, let's take a step back. It's all CAS. It is all client advisory services, in my opinion. I think you kind of supported that. Joe Woodard supported that last week. AICPA, I think CPA supports it as well. So I did write an article a couple of weeks ago and basically said if you don't think you're a CAS business, why not? Why would you think you're anything but? Why not? Why would you not embrace that? Because I look at it again from my perspective as a small business owner. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a CPA of any either real one or a fake one. And I just know what I need as a small business owner. And what I
Hmm.
need is advisory. I need somebody, that fractional person, looking at my books, looking at my business, raising red flags or green flags, or giving us advice. And who better to do that than the accounting professional who knows my business, who should know my business inside and out
That's
from a
right.
numbers perspective, right? And so my shout out is embrace advisory and become the best at it that you could possibly become. And there's so many, I guess, so many ways that that advisory role could look, right? As a firm, it could look like, hey, you know what? I've got your books, I understand your financials, but what I'm really, really good at is the technology.
Yep.
And or I'm really, really good at process. And Mr. Restaurant, your processes are terrible. Let us come in and help. The advisory isn't just about looking at my books and saying, "Oh, wow, you're going to make money this month." It can be so much more than that. So, how does in closing? That was a long, long lead up to my in closing. Um, how do firms? What are your recommendations for embracing that adoption of processes and process management and bringing it on board? How do they do it?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. AI has helped immensely with this. So get a Perplexity account, ChatGPT account. I mean, you can get a free account. You can spend $20 a month, very nominal, and just start talking to AI. It's really helpful to kind of pull in and build documentation for you, bring in team members to help with it. Really just start building that spider web of how do you do what you do. Step one is really just the documentation. You can find a tool like Karbon and plug that process into it. You can get help to refine it, make it better, but you have to get it out of your head and onto paper. So that's step one. Step two is getting involved in really good accounting communities. I mean, so much of our process and who we are as a company is standing on the shoulders of others. Like we ask questions. We probably have friends in the industry that are tired of us asking, like, how did you do that? How should we do it? We try to give as much as possible and give it back, but getting a good community. I know I don't want to steal your thunder, Gary, but some of the work that you're doing would love to hear. Like getting involved in memberships, going on trips, going to conferences, again, seeing what good people are doing and copy. I mean, there's so much great content. There are people that are literally giving you content on YouTube videos and blogs. With the power of AI, you can literally say, give me all the best people and condense it and make it work for my team. And then you have even more powerful documentation. So really leaning in. It's not hard. I know it can feel daunting, but the power is there. All you got to do is take the first step. But yeah, would love to hear what you're in, Gary, because I know I've seen your face for like 15 years. You're
Right.
one of those
Yeah.
people.
Been around longer than I like to admit. So it's interesting because we do have we do our top 100 pro advisor. We're changing that a little bit, top 100 advisors every year. And their priorities were growing the business, expanding advisory, and increased training and conference participation. That was like the top three where, our people in our top 100 said that they're focusing their efforts. So, So Be Insightful, which is our membership program, is centered around that. Right now, it's basically 9 training tracks. We have a coach, we have app comparisons, we have a tax person, tax track, um, all of the key areas of a business or of a firm that we do regular ongoing training on. Right now, it's basically 3 sessions a month. That's going to probably it slows off in tax season. Obviously, we don't do as many, um, but subject matter experts on all these various topics. We are doing in July of next year. Speaking of events, and it's funny because if you look at kind of you survey the market, and you've been in this space long enough. I mean, you see, COVID hit, right? All the trade shows went super quiet, and then they're coming back out. The big shows are still there, but we've seen a rise of a lot of smaller, I don't even want to call them niche, but a lot of smaller in-market surveys, I think, or events. I think you guys are involved in some, um, and I think you are. And then like Bridging the Gap and just several others, right, have popped up. So we're taking a little different angle. We're actually putting together a cruise in 2020, July of 26. So little under a year from now, where it's a week-long cruise. 3 days of the cruise are really focused on working on your business. I think it was Jim Allen, on it, not in it. And as small business owners or as small firm owners or firm owners, it's rare that we take the time to do that unless we're highly structured, highly processed, and most companies and most businesses aren't. And it's hard to take time out of the day and work on your business. But to get to that exit, to get the valuation, to get to wherever it is that you're trying to get your business or firm to, we have to do that. And so this cruise is structured for that. It's going to be like Dawn Brolin is one of our trainers on it, Vanessa Vasquez as well. And it's basically taking kind of the scaling up. I don't know if you're familiar with scaling up methodology, but it's taking scaling up and scaling it down because it's kind of an enterprise
Big thing.
level
Yeah.
process. It's big. And we started the process. A friend of mine trains on it. And we're not, it requires a lot of middle management, which we don't have.
Mhm.
And so, but what it has helped us do is narrow down our focus. And their 4 key tenets are people, process, execution, and cash.
Mm.
And so
Yep.
this cruise is focused around that. It's not a scaling up cruise. We're not using their people or their trainers, but we're focusing around those parts of the business, not as much cash, but around the people and the process and how do you get your business to where you want to go. And I think a lot of people don't even have that in the back of their heads. Where do I
Yeah.
want my business to be in 5 years, 10 years? Do I want to exit or do I just want to, a monthly residual? If you haven't thought about that, this will be a great time to do that. And we'll have some information in the show notes about that. Plus, it's all over our website and our newsletter. So
God, that's awesome. What a fun idea too. Just get on a cruise
should
and
be. I haven't been on a cruise since I was 18, so we'll see how that goes.
I've never been on it. I'll have to talk to our CEO. Give me a ticket. I want to get on that
Yeah, get a
cruise.
ticket. Our oldest son, who's 23 now, his bunch of his buddies, they went on one for spring break, like they're into their senior year, and he and his buddies are all like, "We're going again." So they keep asking about ours. Like, how do we get on yours? I'm like, well, you can pay the fee, you can get on it.
That's
Won't
right.
let
Yeah,
anybody.
that's right.
So,
Boy, that'd be, I
all right,
mean, I had that as at their age, just to have that framework. Who knows?
right,
Yeah, it's
right,
awesome. Love it.
absolutely. So, Joe, I appreciate your time. It's great talking to you. If you're in
Yeah,
Atlanta, look me up. Let's plan some time on the front end or back end of a trip. We'll go hit the Chattahoochee. Not as much
absolutely.
fly fishing, but I went last night, caught 4 little fish.
There you go.
So never
Fishing,
know.
fishing.
Weather was
All right.
great. So,
Good
all
deal.
right,
Good
let me know
chatting.
if you're in my area and I'll do the same.
Sounds good.
All
See
right,
you.
thanks. All
Bye.
right, bye.
This episode of the Accounting Insiders podcast is brought to you by Insightful Accountants Be Insightful membership program. Get 9 expert-led training tracks, over 30 CPE hours a year, hands-on workshops, and year-round premium content to grow your skills and your practice. Learn more at blog.insightfulaccountant.com. Just click the Premium Member Content button.